So you've come! So our movie starts with a title crawl giving you barely enough context or information for the audience to know what the fuck is going on. Way to go, prequel haters. You got what you wanted, and how was it? So in the beginning, you have a brand new character here, Poe, and he's getting the plans, the map to Luke. You could have done so much, and instead you resort to copying the plot points of getting the plan. That's it? The only new part is the conversation between Poe and the old man? This is lazy storytelling. Someone didn't know how to answer these questions in interesting ways, so they tossed it aside and played it safe by copying, thus wasting the potential you could have had with these new characters you're introducing. Speaking of new characters, don't you think you should focus on these characters' story and not just the plot point of getting Luke's map? They are regulated to trying to find an original trilogy character and not having their own story like, flesh them out. Now they have a few backstories, but their main story isn't fleshed out and isn't explored throughout the movie. These characters just exist to get to the plot point, a plot point they duplicated from A New Hope. They couldn't even be original. Not only this, but none of these characters are even giving it story arcs or character development. They just shoehorn a quick backstory and then bam, back to the action and stuff. So then Kylo Ren has arrived and shit's getting serious. What's gonna happen? So the Resistance fights back and Kylo arrives. BB-8 is traveling with Poe while Poe is trying to escape. He ends up giving the map to BB-8. Gee, that sounds familiar. Didn't you already do this same shit in A New Hope? What in the flippity flying fuck did you just duplicate the same plot point? Focus on these new characters. Check this out. You have all this potential. You have brand new characters. All you need to do is focus on their story. Instead of having them focus on getting to the original characters, give them their own story, their own journey. Don't regulate them to playing out A New Hope's story template. What is the point of creating new characters if you're just going to focus on recapturing the original trilogy to the point in which they even want to get to Luke? You could have even had a Star Wars movie without the original trilogy characters or aesthetic. Just new characters. You want to make new characters? Focus on the new characters. Focus on their story. Okay, so you have some potential here. A man and his squad died. Innocent people are getting killed around him. He can't take this level of stuff going on, so he's losing it. And this later leads to a defect. Excellent. This is actually good. And then, they never again use this to flesh out or dive into this character. Oh, it gets better. Then they imply the Force is inclusive, meaning anyone can wield it, and even have him pick up a lightsaber only to throw away any hope of him using the Force, and then almost practically kill him off. None of his plot points ever being explored. It's about what you put into the film. Substance, subtlety. People brag about this movie's acting and dialogue. Yeah, it's okay, I guess, but I prefer what the movie has entailed over just that, because you could have good acting, but one-dimensional characters. Did good acting really change that? No! So, there's more important things to a movie than just two things like directing, creative vision, understanding of a character, diving into a character, things this movie does not do. So even though it's a rush, the rush wears off and you're left feeling empty. So the lack of substance, once the high wears off, you might need more than just the action. You need substance. They tried to quip in the middle of a scene I was supposed to be taking seriously. Now, I've stated this before. When making a film or a movie, it's okay to quip and to tell a joke. However, when I'm in the middle of drama or intense situations, you can't just spam jokes over that. That doesn't feel right, and it breaks you out of the experience. Now, if this was a dark comedy, maybe something like that would fit. But in Star Wars, where the stakes are high, that breaks all immersion in the film. When in the middle of an intense situation, you want me to take seriously, you play it up for a joke, and wonder why people didn't take it seriously? Kylo even spots FN 2187. Then he leaves, Poe leaves, BB-8 leaves to go fulfill A New Hope story template. Poe is then turned into Kylo for questioning, and scenes like Poe looking around show you they had other plans during production that didn't make it into the final cut, and they didn't think to go back and cut scenes like that. And yes, an actual nuanced scene, the introduction of Rey's character, who has a cool personality that just needed some character development and a story arc, but gets none throughout the trilogy, especially in this movie. And this one scene is what this movie and trilogy should have done the entire time. That's what makes this scene so good. They could have done more stuff like this throughout the movie at least. So she's a scavenger who uses scraps to sell for quarters so she can survive. Interesting. Let's see what they do with this. She then stops BB-8 from getting scrapped. Then he comes, Poe is being interrogated. back when Hux was actually cool. What the fuck did they do with this character in this trilogy? You want to talk about wasted potential? Hux was actually kind of cool. He was like Tarkin was for Vader. He was like what Tarkin was for Vader, except he was younger. That's interesting. Until they turn him into a joke in this movie. However, before they fully turn him into a joke, the issue with just this movie alone, we never see much of the dynamic between Hux and Kylo. The film was mainly focused on the main story, so it was never explored. Unfortunately, wasted potential. I'll give you this, however, when FN2187, aka Finn, admittedly one of the best characters in the film, although they lacked development, they still had good scenes. One in particular, when he escapes and fully defects with the help of Poe, and some decent dialogue and chemistry is shared. Like a more modern take on the original trilogy's style. Not half bad. You think I want Star Wars to be like this? I know things like Finn's number, things like important plot elements, because I want to see that shit succeed. A lot of this comes out of appreciation and love for the franchise. Here comes one of the biggest off-screen fake-out deaths of all time. They both crash, but when they do, Poe apparently dies off-screen. How convenient. You couldn't show this? I wonder what they'll do with that. Finn is currently trying to survive after the takedown of the TIE fighter. Him and Poe were in. He stumbles upon Rey. Rey fights off these guys, and Finn realizes, damn, she can clearly take care of herself. Despite this, however, Finn was going to attempt to save her anyway, until she attacks him over what BB-8 stated. He was with the First Order. He has Poe's jacket, and Finn admits he didn't make it. That's when they decide to go, when Finn lies about being in the Resistance. Finn and Rey go off before the First Order fucks them over. Here we go with this shit, nostalgia bait. And it's so obvious too, they didn't even try and be subtle about this. Look, it's the Millennium Falcon. Whoa, I didn't expect that. No way. Oh. And it was the music too. Notice the music, the Millennium Falcon, nostalgia. Nostalgia, like, if they don't get that the fuck out of here, what makes me so angry is when they spam nostalgia just for the sake of the audience going, oh, look, come on, so cheap. I always hated that scene because it's cheap doing that. Then they're gonna play the exact same music, they don't even play new music. Wow. But when you focus more on action and humor than you do depth and nuance and exploring the Force well, your movie might look good. When you focus more on action and humor than you do depth and nuance and exploring the Force well, your movie might look good, but doesn't have the same creative core that the original 6 films had. It's all about substance, something this movie lacks. And yet you'll hear people superficially praise this film for the action and the acting. Oh, the acting got better. And look at what you had to sacrifice just to get there. No, some things are more important in a movie. Okay, so then there's this scene when you know who borders the Millennium Falcon. Now first off, what dumbass wrote this shit in the film? Finn using Rey's head as a platform when he just asks if she's got a boyfriend? Are you fucking stupid? Who actively does something like that to anyone in general? Okay, I'll just use this person's head as a platform. Really fucking stupid. Han Solo comes back. Now, here's the thing. Yes, it's nostalgia baity, but here's the thing. His depiction in this film is outstanding, and every scene he's in is done so well, aside from one in particular that I'll get into later. Aside from that, yes, his scenes are done quite well. This expanded on Han Solo's character, so that's good. However, I just have a few questions. And the problem with movies like this is that they don't give you context, so you're left in the dark about what's going on. Why is Han Solo a smuggler again? Why regress his entire character? Is it because of Kylo? This is not explained or built upon in the movie. This could even potentially give him more depth. Instead, it robs him of his character development because they didn't give it sufficient context. What the fuck happened to Han Solo that made him leave a life of wealth that he earned in the original trilogy? He changed. He fought the war and won. He accumulated wealth from this. So why leave behind a life of wealth due to potentially Kylo? Of course, he'd be sad over Kylo turning, but why regress his entire character when he was wealthy? He didn't need to do that. It doesn't even benefit him at this point. He had to become a war hero He had become a war hero. So why regress his character, and what would motivate him? The movie fails to explain this, and Cosmonaut talked about the prequels not explaining things. Interesting. The hypocrisy. So they meet Han Solo. All the storytelling they could utilize with this, instead they have him go into shenanigans with a giant raptor thing. Way to waste the potential of this moment. Then he goes into more goofy shenanigans with people he owes money to, and it's even stupider when you realize that he was a war hero in episode 6. So how can he not easily pay them off? Really stupid. Scenes like this are exactly what I mean. Notice how Han Solo gets passionate about how he talks about what happened after episode 6. Only a brief explanation, no context. They keep most of this in the dark, so you can't get emotionally invested in what's happened post episode 6, because they don't let you. Han just only explains a small portion of it with no context, so we are left in the dark. This is the only information they give the audience. They inferred that Han Solo has a chemistry with Rey. Not that bad. If only they just flesh these characters out. You know, in Cobra Kai, they develop their characters old and new. They give them entire storylines. This is something that is also missing from the film. Why can't there be more moments like this? Oh, great. More moments of just ripping off the original trilogy style and feel. Why copy the cantina scene? Just do something new. Jedi Fallen Order had a scene where they arrived somewhere, but it wasn't played up like the cantina scene. And it had a unique Mongolian soundtrack that was actually really cool and original. This is not new. This is A New Hope again. That's unnecessary. You couldn't just be original for this one moment at least. Here goes another chance to explain and explain the context. What the fuck happened between now and episode 6? How the fuck did the First Order get here? Where the fuck did that lightsaber come from? And how and why is it there? See how when the title crawl gives no context and the film gives no context, it's an issue? Luke Skywalker, the belonging you seek is not behind you, it is ahead. Rey asks, Luke? See, it's the movie that hyped up Rey's heritage and backstory, not the audience. The audience only hyped it up because the movie did. So blaming the audience for what The Force Awakens did is really fucking stupid. Hux was actually cool. They did his character dirty in all the films by not fleshing him out or giving him a good storyline and working on the dynamic between Kylo and Hux. That scene when Hux goes all in, First Order for his speech. Such an excellent scene, showing the passion of the Empire. Wow, and Hux was the one who did it. This made him pretty cool. All the potential thrown out the window by not fleshing out his character or working on the dynamic between him and Kylo. Notice how so many planets look virtually identical to prior planets? Unlike George Lucas, who created new planets with their own unique look. Hell, even Jedi Fallen Order had new planets that were brand new. They didn't just copy the design of previous planets. Respawn got this down and Disney couldn't? Why do the original trilogy characters only reference the original trilogy? They didn't have other adventures after that? See what I mean? They act like the entire saga didn't happen and only the original trilogy happened. Cobra Kai took into account old and new circumstances. This is what makes characters fascinating. They go through other journeys too. Like movie gives the first flying fuck about that. We need more action and humor like this is Marvel. No context, barely any explanations, left in the dark, so you have to make it up yourself. No wonder there were so many theories. This is what happens when you do not develop the context of what happened in between films. One great way they could have added to Rey's character was by having her be the chosen one to explain why she's so powerful. I'm not saying she's a Mary Sue, nope, just saying they could have had her be the chosen one, like Anakin. They even thought like this, so my question after hyping up her lineage, why didn't you make her the chosen one? That would explain so much. It's all about context. Also, it's okay to have a competent character. However, to develop this character or to give them layers, that's why people didn't connect with the character. That's the actual issue. Not Mary Sue, not overpowered, underdeveloped characters. And now, they're about to blow up the evil death ball again. Wow, you couldn't even be original about your own storytelling template? You could have just had a different weapon or a new conflict. That's it. Why just duplicate the exact same thing? I don't get it. So unoriginal and unnecessarily unoriginal. By the way, just on a side note, but notice how Han Solo uses light speed to approach a planet. That's stupid. That's why they don't do that, because they almost died doing that. That's why they use light speed in in outer fucking space, not a fucking planet, dipshit. And by the way, Poe's back, and it's unexplained. Like so many fucking things in this movie, giving you no answers, no context, just, oh, he's alive. This is one of the worst fucking scenes. I hate this fucking scene so much. Han Solo dies from Kylo. What makes no sense about this scene is the fact that Kylo asks Han Solo if he could hold his lightsaber. And Han Solo, for some reason, falls for this, even though it's so obvious that Kylo wants to do something bad. This is stupid, sloppy, and one of the most insulting ways to killing off one of the best characters in the saga. So Finn and Kylo fight. He practically dies, almost, which is disappointing. He could have been Force sensitive. Well, goodbye. Well, goodbye to that cool idea. Then Rey and Kylo fight. She beats him. The end. This movie is overrated. This movie wasn't original. It duplicated a New Hope story template from the original trilogy. It didn't do anything original or new. It's good to have action and humor, but you also have to have substance behind this movie. But you also have to have substance behind it. This movie has no substance behind its characters either. It has no story arcs. It has no subtlety. It has no nuance. It has no character development. And that's the problem. This was Tarragon, and I am now out this piece.